You'll get short shrift lecturing farmers in Jinshan village on China's huge tobacco death toll. That's because for almost all of the 1,600 households here in rural Chongqing, the leaf is the primary cash crop by far. Zhongdeshio's plot is about the same size as a soccer pitch, and this provides an annual income of around $3,000, equivalent to working day in and day out in a township factory.
We started planting tobacco the year before last. For us, we make about the same as going out to work, but here life is more flexible.
She knows that per hectare, tobacco pays around 3 times more than growing grain or vegetables. Though judging by her hands, she appears unaware of the health risks posed by nicotine absorption. In 2007, 22 million Chinese tobacco farmers produce 40% of the world's crop. Most of the harvest goes to domestic cigarette factories, though like other developing countries, exports are growing, in China's case by over 10% annually, and are now worth $400 million. In 2008, China's 100 factories produced a total of 2 trillion cigarettes, and the complete industry, from farm to point of sale, including any foreign-backed ventures and imports of high-quality leaf, is tightly controlled by the state tobacco monopoly. This is a huge organisation with 500,000 employees. Tobacco provides China's treasury with its single biggest revenue source, $66 billion in 2008, 8.3% of the total tax take. In addition, the state monopoly also invests heavily in rural communities. Over the past 4 years, it's built 8,000 kilometres of village roads and 7,000 kilometres of irrigation channels, part of an ongoing programme to improve the capacity of tobacco-growing communities and so boost incomes. The industry, however, shuns repeated requests to discuss its performance, and there could be 2 reasons why. The state tobacco monopoly and indeed foreign treasuries share a common enemy: counterfeiters. Fujian province in southeast China is the world's leading production base for fake cigarette brands. Much of the tobacco comes from Laos and Yunnan, while copycats in nearby Guangzhou provide perfect packaging for the domestic and even global markets. As a container can carry 10 million cigarettes, the European Union's anti-fraud office believes that counterfeiting deprives the EU's coffers of hundreds of millions of euros annually.
In member states such as UK and Ireland, where duties and taxes are higher, it can be up to 3 million euros per container. And if we're talking about a few hundred containers per year, it's a very significant number.
And a significant player in the fake trade is Yunqiao. There's more to this Fujian backwater than meets the eye. Dotted among the hills and the outskirts, some 200 illegal cigarette production lines are said to operate from near invisible caves and underground bunkers. It may seem unlikely, but Yunqiao is reportedly the main production base for a multi-billion-dollar counterfeiting industry, the source of around half of the country's estimated annual order book of 400 billion counterfeit cigarettes. A quick internet search reveals pages of brazen Yunqiao suppliers. Some even promise to resend a shipment if the customs authorities seize the original. This trade is highly lucrative. It costs around $100,000 to stuff a container with fakes, but this has a typical street value of $2 million in Europe or the US. The Chinese authorities have ongoing crackdowns, but with limited success, as highly organised gangs pay well for tip-offs and protection. But the legal and illegal industries are priming a Chinese health time bomb. 350 million Chinese now smoke, mostly 60% of the adult male population. And this results in a staggering tobacco-related death toll of 1 million plus people annually. There's little in the way of robust anti-smoking policies, even though the country has signed up to the World Health Organization's framework on tobacco control.
At the highest levels, China has accepted this, but that doesn't mean that everyone is fully aware. And as you've noticed on the cigarette packs in China, the warnings are relatively weak. So the general public needs to be made more aware of all the risks they are taking through smoking.
Up against a powerful state entity, not to mention governors of tobacco-growing regions, this is easier said than done. And take everyday social relations. Cartons of perversely evocative sounding brands like Double Happiness are commonly presented to officials, even doctors, to secure favourable treatment. But there's little Chinese government cash to pay for information campaigns. Some groups even rely on funding from overseas.
Normally, we cooperate with foreign non-governmental organisations on special projects, and for this, we get funding.
The industry, however, also propagates quack theories, like cigarettes eliminate loneliness and strengthen women's social equality. Village mothers, however, know only too well about inequality. According to a University of California study, cigarettes account for over 11% of rural household expenditures.
Smoking in the poor actually displaces spending on education and medical care. And if people can be convinced to quit smoking, their lives will improve.
Like so many countries, China's policies are often shaped by a trade-off, where clout is determined by clearly visible economic weight. But over issues like counterfeiting and public health, the country appears in denial. Behind the smokescreen, there's a dire economic health warning. China loses 2% of its GDP to tobacco-related illness, and premature deaths from smoking are expected to exceed 2 million by 2020.